Hey everybody, welcome to BrickVault. Today I'm showing you guys a custom Lego build of the Z-95 Headhunter, specifically the model that's most commonly seen in the Clone Wars. This custom design came from Thomas Jenkins, and if you wanted to get the building instructions, you can find them at our web store. That's www.brickvault.toys. It's an absolutely awesome way to help support us here at the channel, and with each purchase comes the PDF step-by-step building instructions, as well as a digital parts list for ordering all of the pieces that you would need online. Thomas has been knocking out some excellent Clone Wars era ships recently, and anyways, if you get the itch to build this ship or anything else that you might find on our web store, remember it's www.brickvault.toys. So anyways, the Z-95 is the precursor to the X-Wing. As you can see, the shape is relatively similar, and from what I understand, the X-Wing is essentially just a massive amount of improvements on top of the pre-existing engines and weapon systems that belong to the Z-95. We go for full minifigure scale here. So as you can see, all the different models that are passing by the Z-95 scale perfectly with this model. And it was interesting to see it next to the official size for the X-Wing as well, because in my mind, I always thought the Z-95 was smaller, but officially it is not. And then when it's actually built out with both models next to each other, you can really see a difference. Now, officially the dimensions of this model come out to 15¼ inches long, or 39 centimeters, 17½ inches wide, 44 centimeters, and 4 inches high, roughly 10 centimeters, and on the stand that would be 7½ inches high. All right, so that's a lot of the general logistic information about the model, and now it's time to get into the actual functions of this ship. Granted, things are pretty straightforward here. First thing I want to do is take it off of the stand. Technically, this is the same stand design that came for the V-Wing Nimbus class starfighter. This ship here, though, is a little bit heavier, though, so the stand is slightly more sensitive, and I'm just going to take it off so I can show you the first function, which is the folding out landing gear at the bottom. The ship here is relatively heavy, but the landing gear is surprisingly robust. It matches well within the bottom of the body of the ship, and it's pretty sturdy when you actually set it down. It's funny that Star Wars ships consistently do this, but as you can see, the back two landing gear folded directly out of the engines. This, from an engineering standpoint, makes absolutely no sense, but it remains so consistent throughout so many vehicles. It's the same thing for the X-Wing and the U-Wing, and probably some others that I just can't think of right now. Anyways, the landing gear is always a fun touch because we do like our models to be able to be built into larger dioramas, and if it can't land successfully, then it does make it a little bit harder to integrate into an actual landscape around it if that's where you wanted to have it posed. The second function of this model is very straightforward. You can put a pilot into the cockpit. The windscreen doesn't fold open like a hatch. It is designed in a way where you just pop the windscreen off and you can set the minifigure easily on the inside. There's a little bit of detailing that shows the basics of what would be a control console and possibly some flight controls, and outside of that you just got a lot of space for a pilot fig. Alright, now it's time to just take a closer look at some of the nicer, more smooth detailing on the ship as a whole. I hope by now the snotting technique has rubbed off on you. Oh man, that's good. I think I'm going to use that from now on. Snotting is an acronym for studs not on top, but yes, the snot technique has to rub off on you by now. It just looks so good. I really like hearing it when people say that they at first didn't realize that it was a Lego build. A lot of the times people just expect to see lots of bumpy studs on top. That is the traditional way that you build in bricks, but Thomas here has mastered the technique of creating much smoother ships that A, I think are more proportionally accurate, and B, just look cooler as a piece that you would want people to see around the house or displayed inside a diorama. So for the most part, as you're looking at this model, this ship probably looks the closest to maybe a standard airplane or jet fighter, though I must say the build for the nose is incredibly unique because it does thin out and get very pointy towards the end, which is slightly different compared to a lot of the other starships. He's got some great joint techniques on the inside there, a little bit of tension built in with the bricks as well, and in order for the wings to be smooth and also strong enough to not just break apart immediately, he's employed the now very commonly accepted technique of using some Technic link arms to be fed throughout the internal structure, sort of the skeleton of the wing, and that adds a lot more strength overall to this entire model. So speaking of which, this is now the handling section. I like to show one long uncut clip of me handling each build so you can see just how durable each one is. As you can see, very swooshable. There are obviously certain places that you'd like to hold the model from because it's stronger, but you technically can hold it by each wing. It does does have the ability to be held by the wing, but obviously not recommended because you can just see clearly that that wouldn't be the strongest point. The engines are very strong. The black intakes in the front are probably the strongest point, and you can even hold it by the front of the nose, though I wouldn't hold it anywhere further away than just the base by those black intakes. Also, here's a look at the bottom of the ship. Once again, smooth from all angles. This makes it a lot easier to display if you wanted to have it canted from one side, like suspended in air. And personally, I just think this is the Z-95 that looks better than the rest. As a general rule, I say that this model and the rest that are in the web store are primarily built for display, but we're not big fans of having extremely delicate Lego builds throughout the studio, so we make sure not to put anything up in the web store that isn't annoying to handle. Anyways, I feel like I've got everything out that I wanted to say about the Z-95. If you did want to build this thing yourself, you can find the instructions at our web store. That's www.brickvault.toys. Currently, as I record this video, there are 12 other designs in the pipeline, all of which have varying degrees of completeness, so there's a lot of cool things that are coming up in the future. But like always, if you have any ideas about another model you'd like to see us put up in the web store, please let us know in the comments below. If you've hung out this long in the video, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault.